About 300,000 Italians visit Ireland every year, be they students to learn English or playing tourists.
Over the last 2 decades, thousands of Italians have come to work and settle in Ireland, bringing the number of Italian residents in Ireland to 33,851.
There were never so many Italians like now. In fact, about 50 years ago, the Italians living in Ireland were only 3,500. The Italian presence in Ireland has its history, which dates back centuries. In fact, 2 centuries ago, there were so many Italians coming to Ireland. They were not emigrants, but they were architects, designers, stucco workers, musicians, singers, etc., who were not emigrating from Italy, but they were called for their services by the most well-to-do families in Ireland. Architects and designers, as well as stucco workers, left a legacy of elegance and beauty in Ireland, especially in most of the most prestigious mansions in Dublin and throughout the country. Talking about the history of Italians in Ireland, we cannot but mention 3 important names, namely Bianconi, Marconi and Nannetti. Bianconi came to Ireland as a youngster. He was only 18 years of age in 1802. He was here to train in the sale of prints with a friend of his father, but he stayed in Ireland because he saw that there was some business to be done. And specifically, what he did was invest the first few savings in a coach driven by horses, and in the space of a few years he built a fleet of about 100 coaches. He had 100 drivers, and he had also 1,300 horses. So he was the pioneer of transport of goods, people and mail throughout the whole territory of Ireland, including the north. The second name is Guglielmo Marconi, whose mother was Annie Jameson of the Jameson whiskey family, and his first wife was also Irish. But apart from that, he built in Ireland a few radio stations, all dotted around the coastline, but one in particular in Derrygimla, near the town of Clifton in Connemara. He built the most powerful radio stations because from there, in 1907, he started for the very first time transatlantic transmissions between Ireland, between Europe and Canada. The third name is that of Joe Nannetti. Joe Nannetti was a grandchild of a Neapolitan couple who emigrated to Ireland, and is quite noted for having been the Lord Mayor of Dublin in 2 consecutive years, 1906 and 1907, apart from being also mentioned in Joyce's Ulysses. A fourth Italian character who left a mark in the history of Ireland was Giuseppe Caprani, who left Vercana, his native town near Lake Como, as he was persecuted by the Austrians during the last years of Italian rising, and settled in Ireland after spending a few years in London working for Fleet Street newspapers as a typographer and inventor of revolutionary lithographic methods. In Ireland he generated a dynasty of typographers, and one of his sons, Menotti Caprani, worked for the Freeman's Journal, and is also mentioned by Joyce in Ulysses, together with John Nannetti. In the field of music, an Italian pianist by the name of Michele Esposito stands out for his contribution to the history of music in Ireland. For 40 years he was professor of music at the Royal Irish Academy of Music in Dublin. It was in between the two world wars and soon after the Second World War that the first Italian immigrants began to arrive here in Ireland. There were no more than 10 large families, coming almost exclusively from an area between Rome and Naples called Ciociaria. And there were economic migrants, as we would define them today, because they came from war-stricken Italy. This first batch of Italians, very industrious and very determined to work hard to make a good living for their families, set up business all over Dublin. Most of them got involved in the so-called industry of fish and chips, although this was a formula which had already been established in England, Wales and Scotland. If you were here in the 60s, O'Connell Street, the main artery of Dublin city, was dotted around on both sides with wimpy bars, ice cream parlors, fish and chip shops, restaurants, owned by Italians. It was like an invasion, as it were. In the 70s, this first contingent of Italians resident in Ireland formed an association called Club Italiano Irlanda, and in 1987 built a clubhouse in the hills of Dublin. This massive project was the brainchild of Donato Borza, a respected member of the community. This is a focal point in Club Italiano clubhouse area. It is a niche which was devoted to Donato Borza, to be precise, Cavaliere Donato Borza, who was one of the greatest, if not the greatest, promoter of the buying of this land, of the building of the clubhouse, and all the rest through great sacrifices, energy spent to collect money to make this a reality. Club Italiano holds yearly dinner dance gala evenings, organized by its efficient and passionate committee. An outstanding character of the first generation Italian community in Ireland was Barbato Borza, son of the famous Donato Borza. Barbato, a lover of the arts and opera, was the organizer of social events in Dublin such as Venetian masked balls, including a celebration of the 1988 Ireland's millennium with a pageantry in period costumes on the River Liffey. Before and soon after the turn of the century, two Italian ladies made history. Michelle Rocca was elected Miss Ireland in 1980, and Tamara Gervasoni won the Rose of Tralee national competition in 2002. So far we have talked about the first wave of Italian immigrants to Ireland, the ones who came from a limited area in Italy and who came here and settled, opening business like fish and chips and restaurants. But what about the second wave of Italians who have brought our numbers to 15,000 and more? These are young people coming from all over Italy who came to Ireland in search of a job, and they found it. They came just before the Celtic Tiger, during the Celtic Tiger and after. And they keep coming because jobs in Italy are quite scarce. They're highly motivated people. They're mainly graduates in their 20s and 30s. And they work in multinationals such as Google, Apple, Intel, Microsoft and similar, as well as in the 100 Italian companies that have been set up in the last few decades in Ireland. They are a vibrant section of our community who enjoy living here. After all, they enjoy a level of salaries which is quite desirable.
In 2002, I left Rome, my city. I was doing a college degree part-time and I was working part-time. I came here just to learn English for 2 months and I'm still here after 14 years. And if I look back, what Ireland gave to me is amazing experience in multinational companies. I worked with Google, with Amazon, with Microsoft. The company sponsored my degree, so I went back to study. I completed my degree with a first. I did several training with the company and then decided to move into an Irish company, so now I work for Gorgash. I recently bought my own property in Dublin and that's my city now, and I would advise everyone to have an experience here to see how welcoming this country is.
I'm from Caserta, near Naples. I came to Ireland first time in 2003 for a visit, and I decided after I finished my degree in psychology to come here to try to looking for a job, and actually I did. I was working in a coffee shop and then I attended an English class for 2 years. Afterward I got this great opportunity to work for this big company, Cognizant, and our biggest client is Google. And it's an amazing experience for me because we work in a multicultural ambient, and so I can say that Ireland gives you the best opportunity, and it's a lovely country to live in. Everything is easier and Irish people is lovely and they make you feel like home.
My name is Giuseppe Crupi. I've been living in Ireland 15 years now. I come from Calabria, very proud of it. And I came as an engineer, but at the moment I am the director of the Italian School of Cooking, which is part of the Flavor of Italy group. And I'm the spokesman of the group. I'm very happy to be the ambassador for the group of the Italian food and wine in Ireland. We are on television, on a TV program called Ireland AM, just to represent Italy at its best.
My name is Rosanna Fiorenza. I'm originally from Turin, and I moved together with my partner, who is Sicilian, in 2007, so it's about 10 years now that I've been living in Dublin. I used to work in the financial sector, and then I moved on creating my own company, Traveling Languages, who is a very innovative English school. And I love Ireland because of its people, because of its great opportunities that give to everyone who actually want to succeed and try on new things.
I'm Walter, I come from Turin, in Italy. I moved here 1 year ago, more or less, and I'm actually working in Traveling Languages and English school located in the city center of Dublin. I work as group manager or group leader with other students. I really like Ireland, I really like the positive attitude of its inhabitants and the great amount of opportunities that you have here.
Laura Pietrangelo, graduate in political and economic science from Leccard. You have been living in this country for the last 17 years, working in different places of some prestige. Now, can you tell us about your career?
Yes, well, I worked for Hertz Rent-A-Car, and then I decided to change, and I moved to PayPal when just started here in Ireland, and I moved to Xbox, working for Microsoft, LinkedIn, and now in 2 weeks' time I'll start a new adventure for Amazon.
My goodness, that's mobility in operation, isn't it?
Yes, indeed.
And this is one of the good sides of the island, of course, mobility of work. If you have personality, you have a good degree, a good education, and you have determination, as you were talking about a minute ago, etc., you make it in this country, isn't it?
Absolutely, and this is for me an important message that I wanted to share when I was managing Italian people coming recently from Italy, to change their mindset, to make sure that they could still desire and dream to do whatever they want once they have the ability to do it, and working hard in order to achieve them.
And listen, a final question. There are good sides and bad sides living in Ireland. Which are the good sides and which are the bad sides, in your opinion, without being too diplomatic?
No, and I'm not talking about the weather, but so the good side is absolutely the mobility, the innovation, always on the go. The bad side is that as a consequence of this mobility economic development, this is not only belong only here in Ireland, is that there is this pursuit of target, money, achievement that it sometimes doesn't match with the mindfulness or the development from the inner self that we need.
Something which is a malaise in all over the world at the moment, sick capitalism, pursuit of money, pursuit of glory, and people count very little. Yeah. Well, let's not go on talking about this, but I'm glad that you think the same way. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Concetto. Thank you very much.
Over the last few decades, there has been a proliferation of restaurants, especially Italian restaurants, here in Dublin and throughout the country. When you think that in the 60s there were only 5 Italian restaurants, now between Dublin and outside Dublin they may run into their hundreds. Now it is obvious to assume that in fact there would be so many Italians coming to Ireland to either open restaurants or run it as managers and work in them as waiters.
My name is Emilio Cirillo. I'm the proud owner of Nikos Restaurant, one of the oldest in Dublin, opened in 1963 by Mr. Nikos himself, and took over in 1977, almost 40 years ago, and we still do very well.
Flavor of Italy can arguably be classified as one of the most progressive Italian companies in Ireland and a success story. It all started when 2 enterprising Italians from the region of Molise, Marco Giannantonio and Maurizio Mastrangelo, thought of adding to the colorful scenario of Italian enterprise in Ireland an Italian food and wine import and distribution company which would not just stop at importing and distributing, but dynamically act as ambassadors of the best Italian culinary traditions to Ireland. Not surprisingly, their company was called Flavor of Italy, soon incorporating a restaurant called Pinocchio in the district of Ranelagh in Dublin, and an Italian school of cooking, showcasing the principal aims of the company. 5 years ago, the company's expansion culminated in the creation of FIBI, Federation of Italian Business in Ireland, a kind of Irish-Italian Chamber of Commerce to facilitate trade relations between Italy and Ireland, primarily along the food and wine channel. In terms of restaurants, a focal point in the city of Dublin, along the quays on the Liffey, is the Wallace Centre with 3 Italian restaurants and a cafe, where young Italians meet. The centre is called Quartiere Italiano, Italian Quarter. Worth a mention is the contribution to good Italian cuisine in Ireland by the chain of restaurants opened by Stefano Crescenzi and his wife Eileen Dunn that go under the name of Dunn and Crescenzi. As Eileen said in an interview a few years ago, they were brought together by a passion for authentic Italian food.
What brought us together was our passion for food and wine. We would travel all over Italy sourcing really nice products like Tuscan olive oil or a nice Barolo, and that was our hobby. So after we got married and the children were born, you know, I remember Stefano coming home. He worked at that time then in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and it took him 2 hours to get to work and 2 hours to come home. And he came home one evening and said, you know what? Why don't we do something different? Why don't we do what we love? Let's go to Ireland, a good place to raise children, and start a restaurant. And without thinking of the consequences of it.
In the quaint district of Temple Bar, which is to Dublin what Trastevere is to Rome, apart from the latest addition, Rosa Madre, specialized in fish, we can mention 3 more restaurants that are very popular for their food, namely Ciao Bella Roma, Il Vicoletto and Al Vesuvio. It is always worth mentioning that in 1983 an Italian magazine was established called Italia Stampa, which was published for 31 years until 2014. In 2015, the editor of this magazine, now a magazine online called italvideonewstv.net, who is also the producer of this documentary, spearheaded a project for the broadcast of TV format weekly news reviews. 29 programs were produced with the precious collaboration of newsreader Carmen Sant'Angelo. Iniziamo il nostro programma con una nota di politica italiana. Qualche settimana fa abbiamo parlato di Italia.
Sono trascorsi 148 anni dalla nascita di Luigi Pirandello, uno dei più famosi...
Buonasera e benvenuti a questo notiziario settimanale Italvideo News TV. Quest'oggi cominciamo. Carmen, of Sicilian origin, a graduate in law, resident in Dublin for a few years now, is a splendid example of enterprising flair and integration in this country. Carmen Sant'Angelo, graduate in law from Messina, Sicily, to Ireland. You have been in this country for the last 7 years and you have done very interesting things as a bit of an entrepreneur, apart from the precious collaboration to the project of Italian Video News, where you featured brilliantly as a newsreader. Tell me all about you now.
Thank you, Concetto. So I will synthesize. So yes, I'm here for the past 7 years, and I came immediately after my graduation. I was only 21, and I have to say this country has been very, very good to me because I had the chance to do so many exciting experiences. During my internship, when I first came here, was because of an internship. I was working in an art organization, and I was looking after the legal side, so contract with artists, intellectual property, funding, and then I remained into the cultural sector, working always in the administration. And in the meantime, I also proceed with my education. I studied at the School of Art Sotheby's, the rules of the art market, and I've done a master in cultural event management here in Dublin, and now I'm in Trinity. We have Trinity today because I'm at my second master. It's a master in management. Actually, I'm very proud for being here. I feel very proud. I'm the only Italian here, and this is one of the third best master in management in Europe. So this country has been very good to me.
How do you classify life in Ireland?
Life in Ireland is so exciting because Irish people are the best people to be around. So I'm very happy to be here. I never felt homesick, really, always felt at home.
So one day you will be a big manager of something important. I wish you the best.
Thank you. Thank you.
Worth of Praise is also the foundation in 2013 of an Italian radio station called Radio Dublino, which was the brainchild of Maurizio Pitta. As one might expect, football has been the main passion of the Italians living in Ireland. There was a local Juventus for a number of years, and there still is a local Lazio in the Amateur League of Ireland. But some Italians have distinguished themselves in other sports, such as Romano Morelli in cycling, Filippo Fusco in kickboxing, and lately Marco Pons in discus.